So, St. Patrick, for those of you that don't know, was a man born in the 5th century, long time ago, about 1,500 years ago, give or take. And he was born into a Christian family. In fact, his father was the deacon of their church, and his grandfather was a priest even. And he grew up knowing Christianity and learning about the Bible, yet he didn't really believe in it. Sounds kind of odd, seeing as we call him a saint today. However, when he was a teenager, he was more of an atheist than even a Christian. Until one day he ended up getting kidnapped from his home in England, and he was taken over to this strange land known as Ireland, and he was sold as a slave. And he lived there for, I want to say it was 4 years, if I remember correctly, for a while as a slave before he got the opportunity to escape, and he found his way back home to his family. But through this experience, he had a revelation in his faith. It really turned him towards Christ. When you're, I don't know about you guys, but when you're down on your luck, you have nowhere else to turn, it's a lot easier to turn to Christ. And so, he ended up, through this experience, growing his faith and laying the foundation of who he was going to be as a man. When he went back to his home with his family, he became an active member of his church and began studying the ministry, almost, one might say, religiously. And so, over time, as he grew spiritually and physically, he ended up getting to this point where he had a dream. And in this dream, he felt as though God was calling him to go back to Ireland. Go back to this land that had enslaved him and treated him so poorly. And so, through prayer and fasting, and I'm sure a desire not to, he ended up coming to the point where he knew this was God's will. He knew that he had to go back to this foreign land that had treated him so poorly. And so he raised the money that he needed for this mission, and he went over back to Ireland. Now at this time, in the 5th century, Ireland was a land of paganism. And it was controlled by small kings and different lords. And he had to fight through this idolatry to bring the light of Christ to this people. And so, one of the pagan worships that they had, one of their religious acts, was that from the transition of winter to spring, they wouldn't have any light. They would just burn. They would have a big fire on a specific mountain, and there would be no other lights that were allowed to burn. And so, Patrick, being in Ireland, and Easter was coming up, the dawn of Easter, he went out, his first year there as a minister, he went out up onto the top of this high mountain, a different one, and lit a fire for all to see, as a blatant call out to the people to let them know that the light of Christ is in this land, and that it was going to burn brighter than paganism. And from there, that sparked the Reformation in Ireland. And the Word of God burned through that island. In Patrick's ministry, it said that he baptized thousands of people. And he raised over 300 churches in just that small island. And so, I want to read a poem from St. Patrick that just is an awesome testimony of his faith, to get a glimpse of who this man was and how much he loved Christ. Christ be with me, Christ behind me, Christ before me, Christ beside me, Christ to win me, Christ comfort me, restore me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ inquired, Christ in danger, Christ in hearts of all that love me, Christ in mouth of friend and stranger. St. Patrick loved Christ. It's obvious. And he followed God's will for him and led to the salvation of thousands. So thank you. Let's bring the praise team.